Sarath had never been one to follow orders blindly. From the moment she had joined the Valerian military, she had trusted her instincts, her training, and the sharpness of her mind. But instincts and honor sometimes clashed with authority, and today they had cost her more than she could have imagined. The mission had been simple: patrol the border of the northern sector and protect the mining colony from rogue alien raiders. But Sarath, seeing a small settlement under attack, had diverted from the assigned path to intervene. The results were catastrophic. Her squad had barely escaped with their lives, and several patrols had been lost. The council was furious. To Sarath it had seemed a simple act of courage. To the council, it was blatant insubordination. The Valerian Council of Elders convened immediately. Sarath was brought before them, her hands restrained, her armor slightly scorched from the mission. Her silver eyes glimmered with defiance even as the High Elder spoke. "Commander Sarath, your actions have endangered the lives of countless soldiers and civilians. In Valerian law, such a failure demands a binding sentence." A binding sentence. The words hit Sarath harder than any enemy attack. She had heard of them, of course. In Valerian society, punishment for dishonor was never simple. Some were exiled, some were bound to servitude. But in the most extreme cases, the council could force an alien of high rank to marry a human as atonement. Humans, the Deathworlders from a distant planet, known for their resilience but considered weak, unpredictable, and inferior by the Valerians. "You will be given a human spouse," the Elder continued, "and you will serve your sentence by honoring this bond. You will learn humility and you will restore honor to your name through this union." Sarath's body tensed. The thought of it made her skin crawl. She had trained her entire life for combat, for honor, for leadership, not for servitude. And yet here she was being told that her punishment would come not through battle, but through something entirely alien. Marriage to a human. She was escorted from the chamber, her thoughts racing. Humans were strange. Their biology was fragile, their customs primitive. She could not imagine being forced to share her life, her body, her very existence with one of them. But resistance was useless. The council's word was final. The human assigned to her was waiting on the transport shuttle. His name was Eli Ward. Sarath had heard whispers of him. A quiet man, an engineer stationed on the frontier as part of a peace agreement with Valerians. He was not a soldier, not a hero. He was ordinary, and yet, in the council's eyes, he was perfect for the sentence. Eli rose when Sarath entered the shuttle, his posture respectful. He did not step forward aggressively, nor did he attempt to assert dominance. He simply nodded, as if acknowledging that neither of them had a choice in the matter. Sarath regarded him coolly. Her instincts screamed to judge him, to assert herself. But something about his calm, his quiet presence made her pause. "You are Sarath," he said finally, his voice steady. "I am Eli Ward. I have been assigned to you." She narrowed her eyes. "Assigned, yes, I am aware." Her voice was sharp. "And I will tolerate nothing that insults my rank or my people." Eli inclined his head slightly. "Understood. I will not ask for more than what you are willing to give." The journey to the Valerian frontier station was tense. Sarath remained silent, staring out the viewport at the stars, her mind a whirlwind of anger and disbelief. Eli did not speak much either, choosing instead to focus on minor adjustments to the shuttle's systems. He was meticulous, careful, precise. Sarath found herself watching him, not because she wanted to, but because she could not look away. There was something human about him, something grounding. At the station, they were given quarters adjacent to each other. Sarath was cautious, refusing to touch anything, refusing to acknowledge Eli's presence more than necessary. He, however, remained calm, respectful, and patient. He repaired small machines around their living space, cleaned the quarters, and ensured everything was in order. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, Sarath began to observe him more closely. It was during one of these moments that the first incident occurred. Sarath had injured her wrist during training, a deep cut from a sparring accident. Normally, she would have treated it herself, using her Valerian healing techniques, but something about this human made her hesitate. Eli noticed immediately, kneeling beside her with careful hands. "Let me help," he said softly. Sarath recoiled at first. The idea of being touched by a human, of allowing him to perform any kind of care, was humiliating. But she was surprised when his touch did not burn or irritate her as she had feared. Instead, a warmth spread through her, soft and steady. Her pulse slowed, her breathing evened out, and for a fleeting moment she felt a strange calm she had never known. "You are different," she said finally, her voice almost a whisper. "I am human," Eli replied, his tone gentle. "We are different by nature, but that does not mean we cannot understand each other." The words lingered in her mind long after he had finished bandaging her wrist. She found herself drawn to him, not because she had to be, but because she wanted to understand why she felt something she had never felt with another Valerian. Curiosity, she decided, was dangerous. Days passed. The frontier station was peaceful, yet rumors began to stir. Sarath's unusual energy, something she had long suppressed, was reacting to Eli. Her powers, which Valerians trained for decades to control, were awakening unpredictably. Machines repaired by Eli seemed to hum with more energy when she approached. Even the station's AI responded differently to her presence when he was nearby. One evening, Sarath found herself observing Eli in the dim light of the engineering bay. He was repairing a damaged drone, his hand steady, his focus absolute. She could feel a subtle resonance in her veins, a tingling sensation she could not explain. It was as if his mere presence amplified something deep inside her. "You are watching me," Eli said without turning. "I am observing," she replied curtly, masking her surprise. A commander must always observe her surroundings. "Then observe this," he said, handing her a component. "I need your help." Reluctantly, she took it. Their hands brushed, and the tingling returned, stronger this time. She did not pull away. Instead, she focused, realizing that his human touch did not harm her. It enhanced her awareness, her strength, even her control. The realization unsettled her. Humans were weak, yes, fragile. But this human, Eli, was awakening something she had thought buried forever. Something powerful. Something alive. As the days turned into weeks, their bond grew in subtle ways. Eli never demanded respect, never attempted to assert power over her. He treated her as an equal, as someone worthy of understanding, not as a punishment or a possession. Sarath, in turn, began to respect him. She began to trust him. But the frontier station was not free from danger. Reports came in of rogue factions approaching, raiders who sought to test Valerian defenses. Sarath trained as usual, her movements sharp and precise, yet she felt the pull of her growing connection with Eli. He would watch her from the sidelines, offering advice, making small adjustments to her equipment, never overstepping, never interfering. And with each interaction, her feelings grew: curiosity, respect, perhaps something closer to admiration. One night, as they worked together repairing a critical communications array, a surge of energy passed between them. The machines glowed briefly, brighter than normal, and a vibration ran through Sarath's body. She froze, startled. What just happened?" she asked, stepping back. Eli looked at her, his expression calm but serious. "I think your energy responds to mine," he said. "You are stronger when we work together. Not just physically, but everything about you." Sarath's heart pounded. To admit it was dangerous. To feel it was unprecedented. She had spent her life relying only on herself, only on her strength, and now she found that she could not ignore him, could not ignore the strange pull she felt toward this human male. "You are unlike any other," she said quietly, almost to herself. "And you are unlike any Valerian I have ever met," Eli replied. "Strong, proud, capable, yet willing to see beyond what you were taught." The words lingered in the air, heavier than any weapon. Sarath realized she could no longer view this as merely a sentence. It was something else. Something she did not understand but could not deny. As the first part of her sentence drew on, Sarath knew two things with certainty. First, she could not go back to being the same commander she had been before this punishment. And second, she could not ignore the human assigned to her. Eli Ward was no ordinary human. He was calm where others were reckless, patient where others were harsh, and inexplicably, he was awakening a power inside her she had never known existed. The stars outside the station glimmered like distant promises. Sarath clenched her fist, determination rising. She would endure the sentence, yes, but she would also discover what this bond meant, whether it was punishment, power, or something entirely new. And so, the proud Valerian commander, sentenced to a human, began a journey that neither of them could have predicted. A journey of awakening, understanding, and a strange, undeniable connection that might change the fate of more than just themselves. The morning light filtered through the tall viewport of the frontier station, casting silver streaks across the room. Sarath had been awake for hours, pacing slowly, her mind restless. Eli was already at work in the engineering bay, adjusting the station's energy conduits. Even as she watched him, the strange pulse of energy that had begun weeks ago seemed stronger than ever. It was subtle but undeniable. Her body, her senses, even her thoughts seemed more focused, more alive when he was near. She did not understand it. The Valerians had always taught that their power was internal, born of discipline, training, and bloodline. Yet here, with a human by her side, she felt something shift, something she had never imagined. She clenched her fists, trying to quell the strange warmth rising in her chest. She could not let herself feel anything, not affection, not curiosity, not something that might be called hope. But the calm of the frontier was deceptive. Alerts flashed across the station's systems. Unauthorized ships approaching from the northern sector. Raiders. Not just a small scouting group, but a fleet large enough to threaten the colony below. The station's defenses were old, patched together with years of improvisation. Without careful coordination, they would fall in hours. Sarath's instincts took over. She moved to the command center, Eli following with quiet efficiency. Together they ran diagnostics, assessed the fleet's approach, and formulated a plan. Normally, Sarath would have acted alone, trusting only her own judgment. But now she found herself relying on him, not out of necessity alone, but because he had become a part of the equation she could not ignore. "We can't hold them off with these defenses alone," Sarath said, her voice sharp. "We need to use the energy grid to create a barrier." Eli nodded. "It's risky, but I can amplify the station's power if you synchronize with me. Your energy, it responds to mine. We can make it work." Sarath's eyes widened. The connection between them was no longer subtle. Every time they were near each other, her Valerian energy resonated with him, creating an effect she had never felt before. She had tried to suppress it, but now there was no denying it. "Then let's do it," she said. They moved to the energy core, their hands brushing over controls in tandem. A hum rose from the station's circuits, growing louder, stronger. Sarath felt the surge of her own energy, controlled, amplified, synchronized with his human ingenuity. The barrier formed, a shimmering dome of light and power enveloping the station. The raiders fired upon it, their weapons striking but failing to penetrate. The fleet hesitated, surprised by the unexpected resistance. "This is incredible," Eli said, his eyes focused but calm. "I've never seen energy behave like this. It's stronger than I expected," Sarath admitted, her heart racing. "It's responding to you, to us together." The battle intensified. Raider ships tried to flank the station, testing the barrier's limits. Sarath moved with precision, directing the station's defense turrets while Eli adjusted the energy flow, keeping the shield stable. Every moment their synchronization grew stronger. They moved as one, human and Valerian, engineer and commander, an impossible combination that the raiders could not predict. Amidst the chaos, Sarath realized something important. She had never felt this alive. Fear, adrenaline, focus, and the strange warmth of connection with Eli combined into something new. She had spent her life relying only on her strength and training. Yet here, at her lowest point as a sentenced Valerian, she discovered a partnership that surpassed any rank or power. Hours passed. By the time the last raider ship retreated, the station stood intact, a glowing symbol of resilience. Sarath leaned against the control panel, exhausted but exhilarated. Eli wiped sweat from his brow, glancing at her with a quiet smile. "We did it," he said simply. Sarath wanted to argue that she had done more, that her training and instincts had carried them. But deep down, she knew it had been their combined effort. She met his gaze, and for a moment all the anger and resistance melted away. "We did," she agreed. The aftermath was tense. Reports of the battle spread quickly through the Valerian ranks. Whispers reached the council, who could not ignore the evidence. A human and a Valerian commander had coordinated so perfectly that it had repelled an entire raider fleet. Some saw it as heresy. Others saw it as a sign that the ancient prejudices about humans might be wrong. The council summoned Sarath and Eli to appear before them once more. Sarath entered the chamber with her usual confidence, but this time, there was something different. She did not walk alone. Eli followed her, calm, unwavering, his presence grounding her. Together, they faced the elders. Commander Sarath, the High Elder began, his voice stern, it has come to our attention that you have performed an unprecedented act. You and your human partner coordinated to repel an enemy fleet. Tell us, what is the meaning of this? Sarath stood tall. It is simple. The human assigned to me, Eli Ward, did not command me, and I did not dominate him. Together we acted as equals. Together we protected lives. That is the meaning. The elders whispered among themselves. Some were outraged, some confused, some intrigued. One elder, older than the rest, finally spoke. You have broken tradition, Commander, and yet the outcome cannot be ignored. Perhaps there is something to this alliance. Sarath's heart beat faster. She had expected punishment, condemnation, or worse. Instead, the council's reaction was cautious curiosity. She glanced at Eli, who gave her a small nod of encouragement. She realized then that they were no longer simply a sentenced pair. They had become something new, a symbol of possibility. In the days that followed, Sarath and Eli worked together to strengthen the station's defenses, repair damaged systems, and train the Valerian recruits in ways that combined human ingenuity with Valerian discipline. The bond between them grew deeper, not just of trust but of understanding. Sarath learned to appreciate the patience, cleverness, and resilience of humans. Eli learned the discipline, precision, and honor of Valerians. Together they formed a partnership that surpassed mere survival. One evening, as they stood together on the observation deck, looking out at the stars, Sarath spoke softly. I never imagined that a human could awaken something inside me that I did not know existed. Eli turned to her, his expression thoughtful. You awakened it yourself. I only helped you see it. You are stronger, braver, and more capable than you realize. She studied him for a long moment. There was no judgment, no expectation, only understanding. For the first time, Sarath felt the possibility of something beyond duty, beyond punishment. A connection forged not by sentence or obligation, but by choice, respect, and shared struggle. The frontier was no longer just a place of exile. It was a place of discovery, of power, of trust, and of an impossible bond that defied centuries of prejudice. Sarath knew that challenges would come, that not all Valerians would accept this new way of thinking, and that dangers lurked beyond the stars. But she no longer faced them alone. Eli was beside her, and together they were stronger than anything either of them had faced before. The human and the Valerian stood in silence, watching the stars. The strange energy that had begun with a touch, a simple act of kindness and curiosity, now flowed between them like a river of light. Sarath realized that her punishment had become her greatest lesson. She had been forced into a bond, yes, but in that bond, she had discovered courage, trust, and a connection that no sentence could ever break. The station lights dimmed, and the stars outside seemed to shine brighter than ever. For Sarath, the proud Valerian commander, and Eli Ward, the quiet human engineer, the universe felt suddenly full of possibility. Their story was no longer about punishment. It was about awakening, about choice, and about the undeniable strength of humanity, even in a galaxy that had once dismissed it as weak. And as they stood side by side, Sarath allowed herself to admit quietly that she would not have it any other way. The human had awakened something inside her, something she would never forget, and something that would change both their worlds forever.